What is an ideograph? An ideograph is a word taken beyond its denotative textbook definition, an abstract word that inspires collective commitment. Take, for example, the word American. In its definition, it's an adjective that means relating to or characteristic of the United States or its inhabitants. However, what really comes into mind when you think of the word American? Maybe it's a strong individual, independent and hardworking. Or it could be a caring person, service-oriented, and giving back to his or her citizens. But you might have an even different image in mind. But that doesn't really matter, because ideographs are not meant to be defined, they are meant to inspire and motivate. We get bandwagoned behind these ideographs, these terms that seem so nice and so great, but we don't really have a solid definition for what they mean. In addition, there are two features of the ideograph. The first is that it functions to warrant or justify belief. Ideographs offer a reason why a person should believe someone else or agree with their actions. For example, a political candidate might say that this is the American thing to do, or this was an American idea. A second feature of the ideograph is that it is culture-bound. An ideograph, well accepted by one culture, might not elicit the same response in another culture. Our example is a great illustration of this. When a U.S. citizen hears the word American, it's usually a unifying and positive response. However, when an Arab or Chinese man or woman hear the word American, they might have a very different response, seeing it as a negative thing. Now that we know what an ideograph is, we can look at visual ideographs. A visual ideograph is very similar to an ideograph, however, it's an image instead of a word. It's a culture-bound image that people recognize and associate with a deeper, abstract, and complex meaning. According to Edwards and Winker, visual ideographs develop through its usage and applications. To qualify an image as a visual ideograph, it must meet 4 criteria. To better understand these 4 criteria, we're going to look at the image of Uncle Sam. This originated in the War of 1812 when Samuel Wilson would send packaged meat to the U.S. troops. He would stamp U.S. on these packages. The soldiers began to refer to the food coming from Uncle Sam. This soon became a nickname for the U.S. federal government. In 1860 and 70, cartoonist Thomas Nast began to develop the now known popular image of Uncle Sam. However, James Montgomery Flagg made the most well-known image of Uncle Sam during World War I. According to Flagg, he was his own model. The first criteria for a visual ideograph is that it must be an ordinary image in political discourse. McGee describes this as having an impact on both the ruler and the ruled. If both the ruler and the ruled are inspired and impacted by the image, it can qualify as a visual ideograph. We can see this at work in the image of Uncle Sam. We know this is an ordinary image because in 1913, the New York Times published an article saying that a woman in Chicago had collected over 30,000 different images of the Uncle Sam in political cartoons. We know that with so many years past, there are thousands and thousands of more cartoons utilizing Uncle Sam. In addition, as a political cartoon, this impacts both the ruler and the ruled. The second criteria is that it must be abstract enough to represent a collective commitment to a particular goal. This aspect makes the image more inclusive because it is ambiguous. We can see this at work with the image of Uncle Sam. It is very abstract because it's been used in so many different contexts, and it's well accepted as representing the U.S. government and the goals that it pertains to. The third criteria is that it must warrant the use of power and guide behavior. It must turn antisocial or unacceptable behavior into acceptable behavior. We can see this at work in the World War I image when Uncle Sam was used to recruit troops to the war effort. Some people might have viewed this as a negative behavior. However, by viewing it as Uncle Sam asking, helping out the U.S. government, this changed people's mind and warranted the behavior of joining the war effort. The fourth criteria is that it must be culture-bound. We know that Uncle Sam is a culture-bound image. It is a representation of the U.S. federal government. Within the United States, citizens recognize this and have a certain expectation of how to react when this image is used. Other cultures have a very different understanding of the Uncle Sam image, or they might not even understand what it means. Visual ideographs hold a lot of social meaning and can really motivate people to act or vote in certain ways. What are some other visual ideographs that you can think of?